In this video, I'm going to give you 3 ways to price your woodworking projects to sell. How you doing? I'm Matt with 731woodworks.com, and on this channel we build awesome projects with basic tools, and I give out woodworking business advice that hopefully you can take and help you make money woodworking. Don't forget to comment below for your ideas for the next video, whether it be a build video or a woodworking business related video. I read every comment, I reply to every comment, and I take the best ideas and make videos out of those. Don't forget to stick around for that power tip coming later in the video. Typically what happens with me is a new customer or a previous customer will send me a picture on one of my social media accounts saying, what would you charge for this item? And it's typically a picture off of Pinterest. Now remember in the last video when we talked about selling woodworking on Etsy, how important Pinterest is to drive traffic to your channel or your store. If you haven't seen that video, I highly suggest you go watch it. And I'll drop that link in the description below to that video. So a lot of times people will get a picture off of Pinterest, they'll screenshot it and send it to me and say, what would you charge for this item? Well, the first thing I need to know is how wide, tall, and deep that item is going to be, because that's going to let me know how much lumber I'm going to need to build that project. So if I know how much lumber I need, or a general idea of how much lumber I need, the next thing I need to know is how much that lumber is going to cost me. And so what I've done is I've gone to my local lumber store, and every time I buy something, they give me a printout of what I've bought. It's got the price of each item. 1x6 by 10 foot is $7.25. I log that down in the notes app and I keep up with that. No matter if it's a 1x4, 2x4, 3x4, whatever. I try to, or 4x4, I try to keep up with that. And for you non-Southern speaking folks, 2x4 equals a 2x4. And so I know the general idea of how much everything's gonna cost as far as materials go. Based on that, I can generally give a decent price to them. So I know how much I want to charge for the lumber, and then also how much I'm just gonna make in profit. You know you're gonna need to figure out how much labor is going to cost. And let's be honest with each other, if you're just starting out, should you be charging a professional's rate? I would say no. Because as a beginner, it's no different if you went to start a job you've never done before. You're going to start at the bottom and you're going to have to work your way up. There's no difference as a beginner woodworker because you're just starting out. I don't personally think you should be charging a professional's rate. I didn't do it. I still don't do it because I still don't consider myself a professional building the type of projects I'm building. So I would recommend, what's the minimum wage in your area? And you're thinking, I don't work for minimum wage. That's okay. You gotta learn something too. That's worth more than you're gonna get paid for. So if you're learning how to build something, you can replicate that process the next time you make it. It's gonna be faster. And speaking of that, you have to consider, if this is the first time you're making that, you're gonna have to consider this. Probably gonna take you a little longer to build this. And if you estimate your time at 8 hours, and you're charging $25 an hour for that, the next time you build it and it takes you 6 hours, because now you've streamlined that process, you know exactly what to do, you've written down all your cuts, so everything is streamlined, you know exactly how to build this product. You're gonna give the next person $50 off because you were charging $25 an hour last time and you built it took 8 hours, and now it takes you 6. That's a question you're going to ask yourself. So figuring out your labor costs is probably going to be one of the most difficult things you have to decide. Personally, starting out, I really didn't even worry about labor costs, because let's take the dog kennel build for example. You see this dog kennel, I had never built one before. I gave a quote of $350 and that's what I sold it for. If I was building one exactly the same way today, I would charge at least $550. But because I charged the lower amount, I gained that sale. I also gained the experience and the knowledge of how to build one of those now. The next time I can do it a little faster. It was a cool build and I wanted to do it. So it's not always all about the money. So now you got your labor cost, you got your material cost, you got to figure out about how long something's going to take to make. And let's just say you're making a stove cover. On average, a stove cover takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours to make from start to finish. The actual build of the stove cover takes about an hour. I charge on Etsy $129 at this time to build and ship, free shipping on that item. Material costs me about $25, give or take. So if I take $25 and if I'm charging $25 an hour and it takes me 2 hours, that's $75. Why do I still have about $55 unaccounted for? Overhead, profit. So you gotta have some overhead built in for the use of your stains, the use of your screws, your use of your electricity, sandpaper, clear coats, etc. Also on Etsy, you have to figure out your expenses because they charge you a transaction fee. They charge you ad fees if it comes from an offsite ad. So there's a lot of overhead built into that, so you have to actually account for that. If you're displaying your items in a store or a flea market or somewhere where you're having to rent booths, you have to account for that. Then of course, if you're building woodworking projects as a side business, you're in it to make money, not lose money. So with that in mind, you need to make sure that you're making some money, but you're not losing money. And at the same time, if you break even on a new project, it's not the worst thing in the world. So to sum up that method, you've got material costs, overhead costs, labor costs, and then profit added into all that. So if you want to take that formula, it's kind of complicated. There's so many things involved in that, and it's just really hard to figure out from the front end. There's another method out there that says you can do material costs plus 10% to account for any overhead and accidents and uh-ohs and cut too shorts, plus your hourly projected rate. Material costs $100 and it's going to take you 2 hours and you're charging $50 an hour. That's $200 plus the 10% for the material costs. So you're looking at $220 for the cost of the project. Not really a fan of that method because it leaves so much out there. But that's a quick method you could use, it give you a general idea. Some people even say material cost times 2, material cost times 3 as a total of the project, but that doesn't really work because if the material cost me $7 to build a birdhouse and I times that times 2, I'm only making 14 bucks and it took me an hour to build it. It's not worth that. So how does 731 Woodworks come up with their pricing? I really don't do it like anybody else that I've seen the formulas on or saw videos on, so here we go. I just try to be fair. What do you consider fair and what I consider fair may be two different things. So it takes me 2 hours to build a stove cover. If I sell it locally for $100, I've still got my material costs of about $25 in that. And then I have overhead costs in that. And then I have 2 hours of my time in that. I just think that's a fair price. So how did I come up with that fair price? Usually I just reach up there and grab it and pull it out of the air. I don't have a set formula based on any one thing. I don't charge a certain rate because I have other factors involved. Again, gaining the knowledge of building something that I've never built. Being able to make a video accounts for that. You may not have to worry about that. And I just want to have a fair price for the customer and feel like that I've done them a good service. I've built them something custom. They've got a good deal. I've got a good deal. I made some money. They're happy. That's the main thing. So this is how we usually come up with a price for our projects. How you doing, girl? Wait, guys. How you doing? All right, so I got a customer who wants a price. See that? Mm-hmm. That's pretty nice, huh? Mm-hmm. What do you think we got to charge for that?
How am I supposed to know you're the one that builds this?
Well, I mean, you're good at pricing. What would you pay for something like that?
How much you gonna have in lumber in it?
About maybe $75.
Okay, you gotta make a profit.
Mm-hmm.
Paint, stain, preconditioner.
That's right.
Time.
So what would you think would be in a furniture store?
I would say that would be at least $350.
Well, I was thinking like $250.
Okay, but are you underselling yourself?
Maybe.
Okay, is that what you need to do?
Probably not.
Okay, you want the customer to get a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
$350 is a fair price.
That's right.
$250 is a unfair price for you.
Okay, so $350.
Yeah, $450 would be an unfair price for them.
Good point. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Typically, always, that's exactly how we price the items that we're selling. I always ask her, you know what time it is? It's power tip time. Proverbs 12:15 says, the way of fools seems right to them, but wise listen to advice. And so I always seek her advice because I trust her opinion, and I think she makes sound judgment calls when it comes to pricing of items. So it never hurts to bounce ideas off of your spouse or your friends or fellow woodworkers. Shoot me a message on Instagram or Facebook. I'm happy to answer those and try to help you come up with a price of your product. My main goal when I started woodworking and I saw the prices of some of the items out there, and I'm like, why are they charging $800 for a small table? That's not fair. I want to remain fair. I want to make some money for myself, obviously, because I'm in a business to make money, but at the same time, I'm not in a business to make all the money off of one person. If you're fair to your customer, the customer will keep coming back for more orders and generate you more sales, which people will be over at their house and see their products and like, oh my gosh, where'd you get that? Hey, I got that for 731 Woodworks. Let me give you his name and number. You holler at him and see what he can build for you. That's gonna gain you customers. Word of mouth is gonna gain you more customers than anything else. If they're happy with your products and they're happy with your service, people will do business with people they know. Be good to people. Don't overcharge them just because you're the only game in town making handmade products. So the way we price things is more based on how to be fair to people versus how to make the most money off of each product. I have taken projects on to build at cost for the experience. So I personally don't use a specific formula for each and every item that I sell. So the ultimate goal, I guess, of this video is to tell you to be fair to your customers. Don't overcharge them. Try to make a profit for yourself. Sometimes you're gonna undercharge for a project. That's okay. Just up it for the next time somebody wants that item. Don't worry about if you sold it to Joe for $250 and you realize that was undercharging it by about $100, and the next time somebody comes along, they want it, they seen Joe's, they know Joe paid $250 for it. Just be honest with them and say, I've wildly underpriced that product. I should have charged him $350. I lost money on that, or I barely broke even on that. Whatever the truth is, just be honest with people. They'll respect that. Thank you so much for watching. If you'll click that box right there, that helps this channel more than anything else you can do, is to watch that next video. If you don't want to do that, there's links in the description below to Patreon. You'll get early access to every video we make. Also, if you share this on your social media, you know what's coming, that virtual fist bump. I appreciate you watching. Click the box. Click the box.